This is the Lancaster Woodturners Coffee Hour. It's number 44 in the series. We've been doing this every week for almost a year. Let's see. My name's John Kelsey. I'll be your host today. I see some new faces down there. Michael's there. Where are you from?
Hi, I'm from Lancaster. I'm a friend of Dave.
Good for you. Welcome aboard. Harvey, where are you from?
I'm from Vermont.
Wow.
Vermont. Whoa.
Where in Vermont?
I live in Randolph, Vermont, right in the geographic center of the state. But right now I'm up in the Northeast Kingdom. I've got a son and daughter-in-law and two grandsons who have escaped Boston to their summer house to be a little safer from COVID. And they're working remotely, so my wife and I have to do daycare for the kids.
Oh, well, welcome to grandpahood. Yeah. Let's see. We got a bunch of people want to do some stuff this morning, and I got a list here, and I'll start to pick my way down. Ron Sheehan, though, I'd like Ron to go first. Ron's got a safety note that we could all stand here, and then we'll go to Jeff Carroll, who's going to explain how to hold the work when making duct calls. Ron, what do you got?
Okay, little safety issue I had yesterday. Of course, everybody knows they're supposed to wear a face mask. Well, I never do, almost never, because I have a Lexan screen, a flex arm that I pull down and it gets in front of my face. So that's what I was using yesterday. I had a piece about 4-inch diameter, 5 inches long, and I had it rounded over and trimmed off the bottom to flatten the bottom, and running about 1700 RPM, which is a lot faster than I usually run, but when I do buffing, I bring it up to the high speed, and so I just left it there. I was turning a few small items, and so I left it on the high speed. At any rate, I flattened the bottom of this piece, and of course, I had it in a pretty good grip in the chuck. I had the tailstock up and was going in, flatten the bottom. I got down to less than 1/4 of an inch, right in close to the tailstock. So I backed the tailstock away, and I reached up with the tool, laid the tool on the flat surface that I had, and went up to take that little nub off of there. And there's this piece come flying up at me and slapped that piece of Lexan, coming off of there at 1600 RPM, and it bounced off on the floor. If I didn't have a face mask or had that screen on, I would have had a broken nose, a broken jaw, or something. Not a good situation. One thing that I did not do that I nearly always do, when I'm running with a chuck and a tailstock, I'll go ahead, I'll turn whatever I'm doing. Now it's time to take the tailstock away. I will nearly always tighten the chuck, make sure it's tight. Yep. I didn't do that yesterday. I think I had a good grip in the chuck, but something happened. The thing flew off. Wear your face mask.
Did the whole thing fly off, or just did it shatter?
No, it flew off. The whole block came off, come out of the chuck. And at that speed and the size of that block, it was an awful mass there that I would have had a broken nose or broken jaw or something. So
glad you dodged it.
Just remember your safety tips. They're important.
So
thank you for that reminder.
What's your lesson here? Wear your face shield and tighten the chuck when you take the tailstock away.
Well, yeah, there are a number of issues like that you need to be aware of. Anywhere, whatever you're doing, don't pick up a tool by the blade end or the sharp end. I mean, there's all kind of, just remember your safety tips and do them, because a little absent-minded, not pull that shield down, I'd have been hurt.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else on this? Comments or questions for Ron?
I taught a little boy about 8 years old to do some woodworking, and every time he would come, I would say, now what's the first rule? And he'd say, safety, safety, safety.
There you go.
There's a big difference between knowing and remembering. Remembering is where I fail. You know, I may have a mask on my head, but it's flipped up because I'm studying a detail and then I forget to flip it down.
Yeah. Well, this is the second time I had an incident like that. The second time was many years ago. I'll turn a rough bowl with bark on it or whatever, and I know the bark's going to fly off. So I'll have that screen down and it gets slapped with bark all the time. But one day I was turning a little 1.5 square and I had a good bite in the chuck on the thing, no tailstock. And well, it's just a small piece. I'm just going to round it over and no problem. I didn't bother to pull the screen down. So I picked up the tool and absentmindedly, I just went down, pulled the screen down. I touched that block and right away again, that thing came flying up in my face. Again, I would have had cuts. It was small enough, maybe not break a bone, but it would have cut. That was many years ago, but yeah, I'll put a tool to the wood sometimes without that screen in front of me. I'm just doing a little cleanup or a little shear scrape or something. When you're doing any kind of work at all, just be aware of your safety issues. It happens quick.
There's another thing of awareness that you point out too, Ron, and that is even with the safety equipment on, always remember about the line of fire. When a piece comes off the lathe and out of your chuck, it's only going to go so many directions. And if you're standing right where it can go, you know, it's how you hold the lathe and how you approach that piece when you're first turning it in those conditions to make sure it doesn't go off in the wrong direction. But anyway.
Yeah, well, yeah, but you know, Doug, on this piece, I was finishing the bottom. So I was beside the piece. I was not in line of the spinning chuck. But yet, when I went down into that corner, that thing came off at that angle, and it was coming right smack at me, and that off. It came off at an angle.
Can you let
The
me
line
know
of
if they
fire
do
is pretty
anything
wide.
interesting?
I think what happens there is the piece hits the ways or it hits the tool rest and it ricochets. And since it's not a sphere, it's a cylinder of some kind. It can ricochet in any direction once that happens.
Yeah, it likely rolled over the top of the tool rest and got deflected that direction. But yeah,
Good point.
yeah.
Okay.
Do any of you guys, if you have a Powermatic, do you use the cage that came with it? Does anybody do that? I do, but does anybody?
No, I never used mine. In fact, I got rid of it.
Did
got
you?
in my way too much. And I had
Yeah.
this flex screen that worked real well. So I
Oh, okay.
I'm thinking.
Yeah, it is a good safety addition. Yeah.
I've gotten used to seeing beyond it, you know, and sometimes they say paint them black. I saw somewhere one time a article, but it saved me one time. You know, I got a piece that rattled around in there.
Yeah. Yeah. What Bill's talking about is Powermatic came with a series of bars that came up over. It had a curvature to it and then a bar along the side, and it pivoted in the back. You could roll it back or up in front, and it would contain a bowl that would fly up off your chuck.
Yeah, Jet does the same.
Yeah, it sort of got in my way. I didn't like the way it worked, so I took it
Yeah.
off.
Yeah.
But,
I think the
additional safety.
Lexan screen's a good addition. I haven't seen a good design for one though. There
Yeah.
must be some good designs out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine works pretty well. I'm happy with it.
Well, that's
I was
good.
afraid many years ago, and I've looked for it again and have never seen it. I'd buy another one in a minute.
I'm going to move us along to the next topic. Jeff Carroll with the duck calls. You ready, Jeff?
Yes, I've got some slides. I'm new to sharing on Zoom, but can you open me to where I can share?
You can share.
Okay.
Duck.
Okay. What's in the picture now is just a one-piece duck call. The sound part, you turn the base, and the sound part is a plastic insert that you buy. I turned those and a two-piece. What's on the chuck now is a two-piece, the bottom part of a two-piece duct call. That's a 2-inch ply, 4-inch block mounted to it. It's drilled with a Morse taper 3/4 inch drill bit. That's the top part of the two-piece duct call, 2-inch by 2-inch with a 1/2 inch hole drilled. Okay, here's the Collet Chuck. It's got an expansion mandrel those came from Webfoot Custom Calls. The screw in the end is a hex screw that you just, once you put your work on there, you can tighten the hex screw. It expands on the duct call.
So what's the diameter of that?
That one that's on there right now is a 3/4 inch. I've got a 3/4, a 5/8, and a 1/2. The two-piece, the base part is the 3/4 inch. The part the reeds go in is a 1/2 inch hole, so it takes two different size mandrels.
Is that mounted on the lathe on a Morse taper?
No, that's mounted on a Collet Chuck. That just screws on the threads on the lathe, and the part that's holding the mandrel is a nut that the Collet Chuck comes with different size inserts. I can show you those when we get through. I can just hold it up. I've got one here.
So that big chuck on the end is a Collet Chuck.
Right.
Okay.
That's a picture of it holding that's that 2-inch block that's just rough turned down. So it gives you access to the whole duct call. And before I got the metal expansion mandrels, I had one that would fit in a pin mandrel, and it just had a piece of rubber on it, and you'd screw it tight and it would expand inside the duct call, but they lasted about 2 calls and then the rubber gets out of shape and doesn't want to hold. So I found the metal expansion mandrels. There's one of them. The mandrels all have a 5/8 inch shaft. So when I'm using my Collet Chuck, I use the insert that's for 5/8.
So it's like a kind of a reverse Collet Chuck. It expands into the work rather than contracting around it.
Now that's what's on there now is a block for a 1-piece chuck. It has a 5/8 inch hole in it. No, excuse me. What's on there now is a 2-piece with a 1/2 inch hole. There's a 1-piece duct call, 2-inch by 3-inch block that has a 5/8 inch hole in it. And then there's a rough turn on the 1-piece. And that's just some of the duct calls, the 1-piece with the plastic sound part in it. That's a 1-piece.
I'm not getting a picture.
Is anybody else not getting?
No, we're
I
getting
see
it.
it.
Okay.
I'm getting it, Jeffrey.
It's going to be your own setup.
There's a 1-piece put together, and there's a 2-piece. On the 2-piece, you turn the large part, and then the end with the sound reed in it has to be cut to fit inside the larger part. There's one cut down. That's how it looks apart.
Does it make do you blow in it to make a sound, or do you twist it?
No, you blow in the large end and it comes out the smaller end. And then the 1-piece, the sound comes out of the plastic on the end. you blow in the wooden part. That's just some cedar. A lady brought me and said, "Can you make a duck call out of some wood off of my property?" And I'm thinking, sure. And I told her what size wood I needed, at least 2-inch square. Well, she comes in with cedar logs. I'm like, okay, we'll try. And that's just some various woods I made with the one piece. And that is the end of the slides. I've got.
You got one there you can demonstrate for us.
Call. Here's the 2-piece.
Can you translate that into English?
Yes, come here, Duck. I got something for you.
That never worked.
Any vocalizing with that, or you just blowing in it and it makes all the sound?
You just blow in it. It's the both of them are basically the same. The reeds here are what the air is going across to make the sound.
Very cool.
Sounds great.
Jeff,
The first opening slide there, I saw a wooden duck, but do they work on real ducks?
Yes, yeah. Actually, the duck calls I knew worked. I had my preacher had said, "Can you make a deer call?" So I ordered the sound parts for the deer call and made a deer call. And he came back and he said, "Well, it worked." We brought up 4 of them. I missed all of them. I said, "Well, I didn't. I can't teach you to shoot." But
Well, I saw 5 deer last night and I don't have a deer call.
yeah.
What does a deer call sound like? You got it handy there, Jeff?
No, I don't. I only made the one, and I haven't made any more since. But I'll show you what the inserts for the collet. Here's the collet.
Just a second. I'm gonna spotlight you again, Jeff. Hold on a second.
Okay.
Got the gallery on. Okay, now your spotlight. Go for it.
All right. Here's the Collet Chuck. That's the part that screws into the lathe. Here's the nut that holds it on. And what comes with it are the inserts.
Right.
Put those in here. Put that on, and then the mandrel fits into the chuck. The duck call goes over here, and then it tightens up on this end.
so a question about the insert is just so you can put the whole thing, the duck call right down to the whole end of that mandrel on the insert,
Right.
so you can turn it outside.
Yeah, you need to drill the hole in the duck call before you turn it.
Sure.
So once you've drilled a hole, you need something to hold
Okay.
the duck call. So the square block of wood, once the hole's drilled, just fits over here. It expands on it,
Okay.
and then
So-
it's turning the block of wood.
So it's sort of like a pen mandrel or something like that, where you have to have something down the middle of once the hole's drilled.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
What's the difference between 1 and 2-piece duck calls?
Well, the one piece, you buy the sound. I mean, you buy the insert. On the 2-piece, you have to turn it. You buy this part, and you drill a 1/2-inch hole in here. That fits in the 1/2-inch hole. Then you turn this to where it fits in your.
Was that a rubber O-ring in there?
It is. That comes with the sound parts.
Okay.
So you cut the holes in here that the O-rings go over, and then that just seals it once you put it in here.
Your other meeting, I forgot about that.
Any difference why you would use 1-piece versus 2-piece?
It's a lot easier to turn a 1-piece. I mean, basically all you're doing is drilling a hole. This is made to fit that size hole.
Yeah.
when I have sold several of these, the two-piece obviously takes twice as long to turn because you're turning this part and then it has to fit into here. So, I mean, you've got some time involved in it.
Yeah.
But I like the looks of the two-piece better than I do the one-piece, but.
Do the companies that sell the reeds sell different reeds for different species of duck?
Yes.
Do you carry one duck call or you carry multiple duck calls with you?
Some people will carry more than one. You'll see some of the duck hunters and they'll have the lanyards. Now I have I've made lanyards for the duck calls, and that's just another step in the process. But
You make the bead for that?
did I make what?
The bead.
Yes.
So hold it up again, please. Okay. Oh, I see. Yeah. So is that a turned wooden bead?
It is. Right here.
Yeah, cool.
Cove.
So the question is, are there different calls or is it just how the person uses them? Is the reeds different is what I'm wondering.
Yeah, yes, you can buy some reeds work. Some of the calls I've made that have a two-piece reed system. Some have a one-piece reed system. Some of the guys are actually making the where I bought the insert for the two-piece. They would make the whole thing out of wood, just buy the separate reeds, and so it's sort of, the more you get into it, the more there is. But the companies like Craft Supply have some items for it, but I found that company, the Webfoot Custom Calls, where I got the Mandrels, they have a lot of different where you can buy the reeds and whatever. So
I would think you could turn that if you turned a stub that fit in the hole and held that in your scroll chuck and then brought a cone up at the other end. I'd bet you could turn that thing. That would in effect be a mandrel using just
right.
Especially if that fit tight or a little sandpaper disc in there to hold it if it had to.
This got to fit. I mean, you've got some leeway in it with the O-rings.
Yeah.
Obviously, you can adjust the depth of your beads where you put the O-rings. But
yeah.
Are the reeds a natural material or synthetic plastic or something?
It's a synthetic plastic.
Yeah.
All right.
Pretty cool.
Thank you very much, Jeff.
You're welcome.
Jeff, thanks.
Thanks, Jim.
Bob Mathers, you were asking about a tulip poplar tree. You want to tell us what the problem is?
Well, the problem is it's rotting from the bottom, and I brought out a couple arborists to take a look at it because I'm concerned about it. If it falls on my house or my neighbor's, it's the guy estimated it's roughly about 80 feet tall. And I went out and measured it the other day. It's just shy of 10 feet in circumference. So it's a huge tree. So we're going to have a guy come out sometime in the next few weeks. And my question to you the other day was, is that a good wood to turn? And if it is, if any of the members might be interested in it, I could save a lot of it. If you're going to cut it, I leave that to you. And hauling it, I got a nice long driveway. You can come down. You wouldn't have to go too far into the woods to get it. But there'll be an awful lot of wood. I just need to have some idea how much maybe I would set aside.
I've turned a lot of, you say it's tulip poplar?
Yes.
Yeah, I've turned a lot of it. It's pretty nice wood to work with.
Yeah, the arborist was saying it's on the soft end of hardwood trees. I don't know, I haven't tried using any of that, the sealer on the end. I've used paint and stuff like that, to stop the cracking on the end. So I might go out and buy some of that. And I'm looking forward to setting up, turning a lot of green bowls and setting them aside with all the different ways I've been reading about how to do that, dry them out and turn them later. So that's going to be quite a project for me. But this tree is massive, and it's I'll have so much wood. If you guys want some, come on over and help yourself. I'll keep you updated if you're interested.
So how do you want us to get in touch with you? You want us, you want me to put your email in the follow-up?
Oh, that would be grand. If you want to hold off on that till they actually cut it down. He wasn't quite sure. He's booked up for a while, depending on whether or not we're going to have snow and so forth. But if you want, when it comes time to do that, I can send out the message to you, and maybe you could post it for the members. That would be fine.
I'll do that.
Where are you at, Bob?
I'm over in East Hempfield Township, not far from, where the big medical campus is over on Harrisburg Pike,
Yeah.
just a little ways from the mall. I'm just up the hill from there, beyond a neighborhood called Veranda.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, Ron
Yeah,
and Bob live right in the,
It's a light colored wood. You'll get some grain pattern in it in some pieces. But if you want to do some dyeing or coloring, it'd be a good wood for that.
It's good for like stair spindles or stair balusters and things that need to be painted. I use it a lot.
Yeah.
Well, I'll have a lot of wood to be working on for a while then. So again, I would be glad to share.
okay, well, thank you, Bob. Roy, you got some recent pieces you wanted to show?
Sure. First thing is this piece, and it's a very interesting piece. They told me that was sycamore, but we have a new member here who knows wood much, much better, and it's honey locust. And it's just a fun piece. I had some scraps and just laminated the bottom to the top, and I've enjoyed it. So next, I had, over my years of turning, there's only been twice that I've punctured the bottom of the bowl. And this was one time. So rather than throw it away, I made it into a candle holder, put a base on the bottom, and then had a little place for a candle to go in on the top.
That's clever.
And this was a recent chalice that I made. I wasn't at all sure what it could be. And we have this new fellow in our club, worked for Conestoga Woods, has his master's degree in woods. And he was trying to tell me, or still trying to learn what this wood is. It's very hard, very dense. It was beautiful to get it done, but we still haven't figured out what it is. And finally, the most recent piece I turned was a nice piece of walnut. And let me see. Beautiful figure that I had.
Can we see the bottom?
Nice.
Thanks.
And I was afraid that I was going to pop through. So there's a little bump on the bottom, but it doesn't hurt the beauty of it. That's it.
Nice stuff.
Roy, you were talking about sycamore. Here's a Sycamore Bowl that I just recently turned. This is quarter sawn.
Hold it closer to your face. Pull it back a bit.
I just was trying to get the lace pattern in the.
Yeah, we can see it better when it's in the same plane as your face. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
That almost looks like a 3D surface on it with all those ripples in it.
Right. I call it a lace pattern.
Yeah, that's nice.
What's the wood again?
Sycamore.
Sycamore.
It's quarter sawn. If you plain saw it, you don't get this pattern.
Yeah.
But when it's quarter sawn, you get this pattern.
Yeah, that's nice.
You get that in cherry too if you quarter saw it. Yeah, very subtle though.
Well, the new addition to to our place here is called Sycamore, but this friend, when he found this stuff, he went over and looked and found a nice little just a piece of the seeded part of this stuff, and was able to more officially call it honey locust. But it's a nice hard wood, but it really the grain is beautiful, and it was fun to have.
Very nice.
Roy, if you want a piece of sycamore to turn into something for your new location there, I can give you a piece.
Okay.
I've got some quarter sawn stuff. I've been specifically saving quarter sawn for it.
Sure. And I'd be delighted to give you whatever I can.
Oh, I don't need anything back for it. Thank you.
Well,
Doug, since you're talking, you got a piece you wanted to show.
Let me do this. I'm just switching the camera around.
There you go.
Very cool.
John did a presentation to the folks 2 weeks ago, I guess, about making balls, and I didn't join in, but I watched the presentation. At the end, he showed this little piece of a video from Fundamentals on making these little sculptures, and I couldn't resist it. So anyway, it's really quite interesting that the top ball is actually rotating around as opposed to tracking differently. And I've got a plan for making an even bigger one. It's not a bigger 3, but a larger sculpture using these ball principles and seeing if I can put something else together. I'll bring it along when I finish it, but it requires 13 balls instead of just 4. So anyway.
How big are these guys, Doug?
So they all have to be exactly the same?
No. As a matter of fact, let me just show you the 3 balls on the bottom need to be the same to go into the same track to run along the track. But for example, I put a larger one on the top there, and it runs the same. And I put in smaller and larger ones. They can be errors in the size. You don't want too much of an error, because what happens is the balls will start to run together if they go too far apart on the track. But they, these are within maybe a 16th of an inch in diameter and all the same size, but they don't have to be precise in order to make it, because it's a 3-point touching thing and it doesn't really matter that much. And this upper ball keeps the 3 ball, because of the weight on the upper ball, it keeps the other 3 apart for the most part.
Yeah.
That's a great desktop toy,
Yeah,
that is.
Doug, that reminds me of an old Navy expression, freezing the balls off a brass monkey.
Yes. Well, you know where that comes from. Just as a side joke, the brass monkey. The brass monkey is a reference to the small piece of brass that is used beside the old cannons to keep the cannonballs in place. And if you're in the North Atlantic, the brass would shrink, and so the balls would actually come off the brass monkey and flow across the deck when the weather got too cold.
Hey, Doug, on that sculpture,
Yeah.
on the tray and on the bottom, is there a groove turned into the bottom of that tray? Can you show that?
You can get the dimensions that he's using from the video that we made of the sphere clinic. So that's on the club website.
I see. Okay. Yeah, I can see it now. Thank you. That's very, very cool. I like that.
The dimensions have to be right though for this to work, and the set of workable dimensions are at the end of the video.
Would you need that center?
Yes.
Rim?
Yes, you do. You need the center, Ron, because it keeps the balls apart.
Well, wouldn't the weight of the upper ball spread them?
No, it doesn't do it quite enough.
Okay.
And the other part is you need 2 tracks for these balls to roll on. You don't need, if it was only on the bottom part, it wouldn't roll the same way. So it's a 2-point contact on the balls. So you need that track.
Okay.
And I use John's example for the center for a 2-inch ball, but you can scale it up and scale it down depending on the ball size. You just have to keep that track approximately the same size.
Yeah.
This came from a demonstrator at the Mid-Atlantic a couple of years ago, a fellow from Maryland named Ken Leger, I think.
So there you go, guys. It's a lot of
great.
It's been a lot of fun learning how to make balls better too. You can see that one. It was one of my original ones. There's a bit of tear out on that, but it was ash. So anyway.
Doug, it's perfect for you. Now you can twiddle all the time.
Oh, I do that. I try not to, but you're absolutely right.
Thank you, Doug. That's really nice.
Thank you.
And I hope you've got anybody who gets into that, go take a look at the video. There's quite a bit of stuff tacked onto the end of it.
Yes.
Where's the video, John?
Pardon?
Where's the video?
It'll be on the club website. It's the Sphere Clinic video.
Yeah. I can't think of the guy's name that did that at Mid-Atlantic a couple years ago.
Ken Leger, I think his name is.
Yeah.
Ken Le something. Yeah, nice fella. Anyway, he did it at Mid-Atlantic 2 years ago, I believe. And he said he got it from some dude in Ohio, so you know how this goes.
I have a question for everybody just quickly. One of the things I'm asking or struggling with my ball turning here is no matter which chuck I use, even with the jam chuck, it's really critical. I think I'm finding it really critical that you get that first turning, when you're first turning the circle, really the arc correct. Am I correct on that? It's like, this is, no matter what you do, you really need to make sure on your first turning, because otherwise the jam chucks and everything else just don't fit properly when you turn your ball sideways.
Yeah, and the way to do that, the best way to do that is the Octagon Method, make 45 and then make 16ths by subdividing the facets, and you'll get so close to a sphere that you're within sanding range. Alan, you got some pictures, Alan Miller.
I do.
You going to share your screen? Okay.
You got it?
Got it. I got it.
Okay.
Got it.
Okay, here go. Start the slideshow. That's a Walnut Bowl, 8 1/4 by 2 1/4. And that, you talk about wood you've had around for a while. I bought a 4-foot length of a half log of walnut before our son was born, and he's coming up on his 37th birthday. So I've been
You're not alone.
I've been dragging that one around for a while.
Hey, you're sure it's dry? You're sure it's dry now, are you?
It's dry. Again, the whole question of defect versus feature, it's got a crack. I was trying to get as much as I could out of it using the sapwood, and I've got a crack there. That's one downside. Next slide. I put a little bit of a foot on the bottom of it. This one I had just glued to a block on a faceplate, and so then just sanded it down when I was done.
Is that the same bowl?
Same bowl.
Yeah.
Yep.
It looks like a candidate for a couple of biscuit joiner biscuits across that crack. I've done that. It's pretty simple to do.
I might want you to tell me more about that, Ron, or do we have a video up somewhere about that?
No, but I can make one.
Okay, that'd be helpful.
You have a joiner, biscuit joiner?
I do.
Yeah, it's fairly simple to do.
Okay. And using up some of the last of my box elder, little bowl, 5 1/2 by 2. And there's the ball. Again, appreciate what John did 2 weeks ago or so there with the Sphere Clinic. The gash up in the top part of that, I'm still having trouble getting things to stay in the jam chuck. That one came out and got caught between the jam chuck and the tool rest and just burned a nice gash down the side of it. So anyhow, we'll call that a feature.
You need a bigger hammer to stick it into the chuck.
I guess.
You always need a bigger hammer.
And then I've got 2 tools I made here. And the first one is probably one that I doubt if it gets very much use. I used a kitchen knife to get the profile for the handle. It's a saw blade. I took one tooth out of a saw blade, and that's a 7-inch blade. The part that is not working well with this, that little hook at the end wants to catch. And so twice I had it pulled into the work. And maybe if I use it for very small pieces, it might work, but I'm not real fond of it so far.
I think that's too steep and too much of too small an angle for a parting tool.
Is that a carbide tooth on there?
Yes.
Ah.
That's a carbide tooth. And so that was the suggestion. John, you would have a wider angle on the tooth if it was made out of steel as opposed to carbide.
Yeah, and I think with this one, I might be having the tool rest up high so it could encounter the wood at a different angle from what this is going to do if you hold it level.
Okay.
That's just
okay.
a feeling. I don't know. I'd like to try it sometime.
Just cut the tooth out of the saw blade at a different angle.
And I can try that too.
Made a tool
Yep.
just, yeah, I made a
go
tool
ahead.
just like that. And I have a diamond grinder and I ground the top part of that tooth down so it's more flat.
I've got a
Looks
diamond
great.
grinder. Okay, that's helpful. Yeah. Okay, and then this was one, a gooseneck hollowing tool. That one's 18 inches. The offset's about 2.5. I took an old entertainment center apart and had some trim, which I thought was oak. I don't know if it is. It might be ash or something else. But glued up a couple pieces of that, and that's what I made the handle out of. I had the steel rod and the copper ferrule and the carbide round tip out on the end. So, and one of these days, and I know today's not, we're full today, but I think it might be, I would enjoy if folks just showed some of the tools they made through the years. It's always interesting to me to see what other people do.
Well, how well does this one work?
As a matter of fact, I had to try it. So that's about 3.5 inches high and 2.25 inches. And at least on that, it seemed to work fairly well. I was able to hollow it out. I used it primarily up around the top. I have a straight carbide scraper that I use down the walls. But I was able to get in there fairly well with that.
Did you heat the steel rod before bending it, or was it just a cold?
I did not.
Soft enough?
I did not. It was soft enough. I just put it in a vise and turned it or pulled on it and got the bends that I wanted.
Did you grind it flat on the other side, or is it just round the whole way?
It is not ground flat. And maybe I should.
It sounds to me like it would twist a lot if it were round.
I did not have a lot of side pressure on that. I had some that I had to compensate for.
Well, you've done the right thing, Alan, by making sure your tip tool is in line with the handle. That's key on those parts, to make sure you don't have too much pressure when you're turning it. If the closer you can get that tip, the carbide tip, to the center line of your handle, the less it'll flex.
Okay.
Yeah, the torque or twist.
Yeah, less will twist.
Alan, what diameter is that rod?
That rod is a 3/8.
Okay.
Oh, then you don't want to grind it flat, or you won't have enough strength.
Okay. Okay. Yep.
What size hole do you have in that box?
I'm sorry, say it again.
What size is the hole in the box?
The top hole was a 1-inch Forstner.
Well, with your gooseneck tool, you should be able to go into a much smaller hole and get around the corner. That's a real trick to it. Make it small enough that people can't put their finger in there. Then they know you didn't sand it. Yeah, Woodturner's gonna put his finger in there as soon as he picks it up.
I'm sure. And then finally, I put the flashlight on top. The reason I stopped turning on this, when I almost had a funnel out of it.
Yeah, very close.
When you see sawdust coming out the side, it's probably time to.
Yeah, you're done.
Done enough. So yeah.
The other trick is make a few of those and bandsaw them in half and look at your wall.
Okay.
That way you can tell how good you're getting with the wall thickness.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, those are the slides that I have for today.
Thank you, Alan.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay. The next guy I got on my list is Ray.
Okay, John. Is that up?
Yeah.
Okay. This is, we talked about spheres. So I looked at some of the stuff that I had. This is for anybody who has a one-way live center. This is the cone from that, but this has got an adapter that goes in the headstock. And so you can just hold that with this, with just friction or vacuum. Yeah, I do a lot of.
Hold on a sec, Ray. Let's make sure the room is seeing this. You guys seeing this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, go for it.
Okay, and so this is the cone. So you can just put something in there, or if you're using vacuum, you can seal that and hold it by vacuum. And
How big is your cone, Ray?
I don't know, 2.5 inches across. I guess it's
Okay.
a standard one with a one-way live center.
Ray, what's that rubber thing?
That's just a gasket to seal that. When
Where did you find that to fit your one-way center?
You might look at Rubber Chucky.
Rubber Chucky.
Yeah, Rubber Chucky.
He's got everything.
Yeah. Okay. This was a. I don't know if the guy. I don't remember the guy's name that made these, but this is a vacuum chuck. Now this uses 2-inch PVC connectors, and that there's a seal also that fits on there. But what you can do with this is you don't need to draw a vacuum. So you can just put something on there and bring something up from the tailstock side and just use it like that. And it's a double purpose. What's nice about this is you can use an adapter from 2-inch to whatever size right off the shelf at the big box store, PVC, and you can put it on there and true up the edge, and you can hold things up to 6, 7, 8 inches. Okay, this is just cups, and these aren't really soft and they're not really hard, and these go on tailstock and headstock, so you can turn a sphere, rotate it, put it in here, and clean it up.
Where do you get these?
Rubber Chucky, but I don't know. When you look there, I think I got these back before he originally made them. I had some stuff that I was testing and looking at, but they have something similar to this.
What's the material of that? Is it kind of a silicone?
No, it's harder than that. It's not totally hard like hard plastic, and it's not really soft, but it won't, when you bring it in, it doesn't mark your material. So it lasts. I've had these a long time, and it goes by adapter. This goes on a 3/4 16 adapter, and then the same thing with the headstock.
Is that threaded, Ray?
What's that?
Internal thread.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. We've been talking. Matter of fact, we just saw one today, and Randy showed one, an ER32 chuck. I have this. I just wanted to show some of the things that are out there. This is a ER16 chuck. This is on a drilling frame for a Rose engine. I have a 1/4 as a reference to how small this collet is in this drilling frame, and that'll hold end mills or tools. And then this, I wanted to show right here in this. This is a collet from a watchmaker's lathe. So that would hold tools in a watchmaker's lathe. And it has a 1/4 for reference. And what I did with some of these, this right here is a blank that a guy made. So I took some of those and modified them to be able to use them for different tools. Holds end mills, fly cutters, eccentric cutter. So it really, rather than and this again is a drilling frame off a Rose engine. So it really become a multiple use tool. This is a pin chuck. This was mentioned earlier. This is a 3/8 pin chuck blown up. These were very popular for a while. You're doing some stuff fast, You drill a 3/8 hole in it, you put it on here with a pin up in here, you give it a twist clockwise, it locks it in, you turn your piece, you take it off. The disadvantage with this is it's very, very hard to take something off and reset it in the same place. You set it once, you turn it. It's really made for very fast production turning. And this is a collet Morse taper. This fits in the headstock. That's all it is. You hold it in with a drawbar. These again were very popular. A lot of these go back before the Chucks of today. This is a 3/8, and again for speed you can't beat it. There is no chuck, no big cost for this. This goes right in the headstock. You pull it tight with a drawbar, and it holds your piece. That's it. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, Ray.
Thank you, Ray.
Questions and comments for Ray?
Yeah, a question. On the second or third slide, you had a looked like a stainless steel chuck that you had PVC, 2-inch PVC fitting into.
Yeah, that was.
Where did? Go ahead.
That was aluminum, and I don't remember. I can look and bring it back to the next meeting if I can find it. It's a guy made custom stuff, and you know how some of these guys do. They make 10 of something and then they move on to something else. So I'll see if I can find where that came from. I find it very, very handy. It was not that expensive. But
Right.
that being able to use PVC, I can put PVC on there and you can cut that a lot of times to what you need. Or if you need a special edge or something like that.
Yeah, that
Ray,
looked
hey-
really useful. Yeah,
Hey,
thanks.
Ray,
Yeah.
I have the same piece, that aluminum. I'll take a look at it in my shop, but I wrote on there where I got it, but I got it the same time I think you did. And
Okay.
I used the PVC, you know, with my vacuum system. I have a different sizes like you do there. That works very well, but I have to look at it, see where I got it too.
Yeah.
I mean, I have it written on it.
Yeah, see if you can find it. If not, then I'll try to search on the web.
Yeah,
And see if I
yeah.
can find
Yeah, I remember when you got yours and you did a little demo for Susquehanna years ago, and I got right on that too. But it's
Okay,
very handy.
You have it then. So
Yeah, yeah.
bring that back.
Yeah, I will. I'll check.
Thank you very much, Ray. Barry.
Just me being me, I made I have a video, but we're kind of out of time, but basically it's like a shuttlecock with 12 segments to it.
You made a
The free diameter is 2 1/8 inches.
So you made a
and
collet chuck.
other diameter down to 1 3/4. It, you can see it's got a taper to it. And the first 3/4 of an inch of this is tapered. So it goes in there, and then you run a 3/8 threaded rod through your through your headstock, and tighten it up with the wing nut on the back, and it compresses on down.
Very cool.
That
And
is,
it,
that's great.
What
I
kind
have
of wood
a
is that?
video, but we're out of time here. A little 2-minute video of it.
We got 2
turning
minutes.
the ball in it. But,
We got 2 minutes. Bring it up. It's a 5 up. Bring it up.
What kind of wood is the collet part made out of?
The housing is Baltic birch plywood. The shuttlecock, if you will, is made of cherry. I happen to have a piece of cherry that big.
Okay.
So I avoided gluing. It was a prototype, and I'm pretty happy with how it worked out. There's the components, and then we have this video here. You can see it compressing the fingers as it draws it in. But because of friction, you have to slam your a butt of, or a hammer or something into the shaft to knock it back free.
Is there a taper in there once it's fully closed, or is it does it stay cylindrical, or what's exactly the shape inside?
It was cut straight at a 2 1/8 inch diameter, mainly because that's the biggest size hole size Forstner bit I have. So it's bored about 1.5 inches deep with a 2 1/8. And so as it closes down, it actually, the narrowest point is right at the mouth, and it gets slightly bigger because of the taper as it goes back.
So if you had made that by pulling it fully small and then doing the final size of the hole, it would be cylindrical at its small size.
I tried that on a previous one, keyword here, previous, like 2 days ago, and it chattered too much. The fingers, the lobes of the,
Okay. Yeah.
they chattered too much and you get tear out on the backside.
How did you cut your grooves going down the shuttle?
With a router.
In the lathe.
I put an indexing disc on my lathe, and I have a little laminate trimmer set up at the height
Okay.
of the bed
Okay.
to the center line, so I can cut flutes.
Yep.
Wow.
Very
Interesting.
amazing.
And then finally, I have a pencil line marked on this maple disc at 1/2 the diameter. So it's been chucked up in there. And you can see it runs. I'm very happy with how concentric, how little run out it had. And all alternate inserts could be made that would, still using the same housing, but that would take it from like the 1 3/4 down to 1.5 or something. You'd have to make a shuttlecock that would fit over that range.
Does the plywood socket screw onto the headstock, or is it on a faceplate? What's going on back there?
Yeah, it's on a faceplate. You can barely see the faceplate back there. It's on a 3-inch. It's a 3-inch diameter PSI faceplate.
So you didn't try to thread it right onto the headstock spindle?
I did with the thread tracer that you loaned me, John, and I guess I didn't take enough time to get. You have to also get the base of your mount very square.
Yeah.
That just the threads, although they held tight, it wasn't going up square against a face, and so it had. When I turned it true, unmounted and remounted, it had about a 1/16 of an inch eccentricity to it.
This is probably better.
Yeah, I could improve on it, but yeah, these metal face plates from PSI are like $9 a piece, I think, and I bought a bunch of them a couple of years ago.
And how many slots are in the shuttlecock?
Well, it's made from one piece. You know, it's a cylinder. It's like a 3-inch diameter cherry cylinder that I bored, turned the taper, and then let me go back to my.
No, is it 12 slots or 16? I can't tell.
It's 12.
Well,
I made one out of cocobolo at first that had 8 lobes, and it worked fine, but the one lobe split off. That wood is so stiff that I had to keep turning it successively thinner so that I could bend without getting into heavy duty wrenching or anything. I want to be able to hand tighten it. And the one lobe broke off. And so cherry is not an ideal candidate by any means, but I happen to have a piece laying around. I don't know what qualities I should look for in wood that would allow a lot of flexibility and
Try
Ash?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna use oak and I had some, but I'd have to glue it up, and the same with ash. I don't have any, my ash that I have is like 1 inch. So I'd have to glue several layers together.
The other question, Barry, is because the ring or the shuttlecock is held so thickly, so closely, do you really need it to have that thickness? I mean, can you make them? They look like they're about through what, half an inch? Can they be a quarter of an inch and still work as well in centering?
Yeah, the limit on that I see on making the fingers of the shuttlecock is actually once they get down to.
We lost your sound, Barry.
Whole thing froze.
Barry's sound has disappeared. I guess he's frozen. Well, I'll just say that we're at the end of the hour anyhow, so thank you all, but I'm going to hang here and see if he comes back. That's a terrific chuck.
It is.
Kai, it's
While you
like some of the old.
John, while you're waiting, Doug had asked a question about making sure that the spheres stayed round. When I was looking at some of those videos, I mentioned it last week or the week before about Thomas Hackle that's over at Kai's group. I found another one by a German fellow that he actually used a beer coaster to make a guide for it to check the roundness of the sphere as he worked through it. So if I can find that, I'll let you know where it's located.
Cool.
I've actually used old credit cards, and you know, the ones that I don't need any, they're plastic enough, and I made spherical shapes in them. It's just a question of how accurate it needs to be, and the answer, as you said, I guess it's the more accurate the better on the initial roundness.
Yeah.
If you just stick that credit card on the wood, it'll round itself.
Yeah, that's what I do. Make it that gives me the diameter of the outside, and then I make the inside. But it's not the rounding of the credit card I'm worried about. It's the round of the ball when I'm turning, and that's and even to John's point of doing the eighth, once you get used to the size of the shape of a sphere, you can pretty much eyeball it pretty well. But it takes a little bit of practice, I guess, or I can eyeball it so it comes up pretty close.
Doug, take care of how you don't use the magnetic strip. The lathe will charge your credit card.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you all. On that note, this is the end of the coffee hour, but you can hang around and yak if you want.
Thanks a lot, guys. I'm glad.
Thanks, John. Thanks, guys. See you.
Bye. Thank you. Have a good week.